The glitch in the machine. Listen. Self-centeredness inside an interconnected reality is a straight-up design flaw. You cannot run a closed-loop, me-first operating system on hardware that is completely hardwired to everything else. It doesn't work. When every single outcome depends on a web of moving parts, pretending you are the only real actor in the room is a fast track to disaster. The core issue is simple. Genuine interaction never actually happens. A self-absorbed person doesn't engage with the reality around them. They try to swallow it. They look at a room full of people, a market, or a relationship, and they don't see peers or shared stakes. They see fuel or competition. It turns every single environment into a battlefield where the only objective is overtaking whatever is in front of them. When two things cannot interact on equal terms, friction is inevitable. Real connection requires give and take, listening, adjusting, and letting the other side influence you. But self-centeredness rejects influence by default. It views compromise as losing territory. Because of that, there is no dialogue, no collaboration, just an aggressive attempt to bend the whole network around one ego, which instantly strains every link in the chain. That urge to overtake isn't just an annoying personality quirk. It is structurally dangerous. Think about what happens when one part of an engine decides to pull all the oil and power for itself. The whole machine seizes up. When someone refuses to acknowledge the system they live in, they drain the very environment keeping them alive. They win a tiny skirmish and wreck the ground they stand on. And look at the physiology behind character here. It blazes the trail long before anyone says a word. Character isn't some floating, abstract idea you write in a journal. It is raw biology, nervous systems, fight or flight triggers, dopamine loops, and the physical reflexes built over decades. If your internal baseline is wired for paranoia and self-protection, your body is going to act on that before logic even enters the room. That baseline biology dictates the path. When high-stress moments hit, people don't magically rise to their best ideals. They fall back on their physical conditioning. The self-centered person tenses up, hoards control, and strikes first. Their heart rate spikes, their vision narrows, and they treat everyone around them like a threat or a stepping stone. The body makes the move, and the mind just invents a rationalization afterward. This creates a brutal feedback loop. The more someone tries to dominate the space, the more resistance the network throws back at them. People pull away, trust evaporates, and friction piles up. Instead of seeing this pushback as a natural reaction to their own aggression, the self-focused mind reads it as proof that the world is out to get them. So they double down. Harder push, more control. The end state is pure isolation inside an interconnected room. You can be surrounded by colleagues, partners, or friends and still be utterly cut off. If every exchange is calculated to secure your own standing, nobody is actually talking to you. They're just managing you. They set boundaries, give you less access, and quietly route the real work around you. You become an obstacle to bypass. There is also a massive metabolic tax that comes with trying to overpower reality. It is exhausting. Carrying a constant defensive posture, monitoring who has the upper hand, protecting your pride, constantly angling for leverage, burns an insane amount of daily energy. The physiology begins to break down under the weight of its own paranoia. Chronic tension, poor sleep, frayed nerves. It catches up fast. Meanwhile, the collateral damage stacks up across the board. Projects stall out because one person refuses to share credit or hand over responsibility. Relationships quietly rot because one person's comfort always comes at the expense of everyone else's sanity. The damage spreads out in waves, hitting people who were just trying to get things done without the drama. Real interaction demands mutual vulnerability. You have to be willing to be wrong, to let someone else set the pace, and to accept that you are just a fraction of the bigger picture. But someone locked in self-absorption can only register leverage. To them, vulnerability looks like a fatal weakness. So they keep their armor on, weaponize every vulnerability they see in others, and wonder why everything feels so hollow. Eventually, any functioning ecosystem will deal with a rogue actor. It either purges the parasite or breaks apart under the strain. You see it in teams that suddenly fall apart, companies that implode from toxic leadership, or families that simply stop talking. The connected reality always wins in the long run. It absorbs the blow, adjusts, and isolates the point of failure. This is why character is the fundamental baseline. You can teach anyone the right buzzwords, the right public relations talking points, and how to smile during a meeting, but you cannot fake the deep-seated physiological response to sharing power. A person's character determines whether their instinct is to build up the room or strip mine it for personal security. That internal wiring leaks into every micro-decision. It shows up in how someone listens, whether they are actually processing what you say or just waiting for their turn to take the mic. It shows up in who they blame when things go sideways. It shows up in their ability to let somebody else win an argument without throwing a tantrum. Trying to force a self-centered posture onto an interdependent world is like trying to drive a boat on dry pavement. The mechanics are completely wrong. The friction will shred the machine, and no amount of willpower changes the terrain. You either learn to sync with the network, or the network grinds you down until you're forced to stop. Knowledge is king.